Before we begin, you shouldn't shout at wrestlers when they make mistakes. Have you really gone through your own life and never screwed up? Of course you haven't. And imagine when you did screw up, you had thousands of people yelling right in your face. You're gonna feel pretty already, and that's just gonna make you feel worse. Pro wrestling is well hard, and it's impossible not to trip up every now and then. In fact, it wouldn't be as fun or entertaining if that was the case. Perfection is never the answer, unless you're Mr. Perfect, but that is different. With all that said, if you are going to blunder, you don't want to do it at WrestleMania. There are more eyes on the showcase of the Immortals than any other pro wrestling event in the world. If you can have a flawless performance, it's probably for the best you do it here. But I'm Simon from WhatCulture. This is the 10 worst WrestleMania botches ever. Number 10, Shelton Benjamin's dive. Going down at WrestleMania 25, it's no real surprise that Shelton Benjamin didn't hit this as he'd imagined. If I climb a ladder and then have to hurl myself off of it, there's every chance I'm going to freak out at the top and screw it up. The crazy thing here was that it still looked amazing. Benjamin somersaulted off the ladder, the problem coming with his rotation. With the original plan being that he flipped 360 degrees, instead he only managed about 180 degrees, meaning he fell into the arms of a group of waiting wrestlers head first. That must have been absolutely terrifying and far more dangerous than anyone could have planned. Thankfully, it was alright. Number 9, Mickie James' Stratisfaction. This is one of those botches that really doesn't matter at all. By the time Mickie James went to hit Trish's Stratisfaction at WrestleMania 22, the two were already having a fantastic match. To screw it up completely, they'd have to have stopped in the middle of the ring, started dancing or something. Even then though, quite entertaining. When James did attempt the move, however, it didn't really go to plan, and she kind of just jumped in the air and then floated a few inches forward. They covered it well though. Mickie just smiled and got back on with her beating. When you watch it out of context, mind, it is really, really weird. Number 8, Jack Swagger's Fumbling. Here's a weird fact for you. I used to really like Jack Swagger. I thought he was great and I was his biggest supporter. And then when I had the chance to back him in the best way, I bet against him in WrestleMania 26 Money in the Bank ladder match. What an idiot. It didn't work out too well for Swagger in the long run either. And even when he went to grab the briefcase, it wasn't the smoothest movement we've ever seen. Seemingly forgetting how to unclip a hook, Swagger fumbled with the briefcase for what seemed like 46 years before eventually getting it off. It was so awkward to watch, mostly because you felt so bad for the guy. He was probably nervous, a bit sweaty. These aren't the conditions for grabbing a guaranteed WWE title contract. Number 7, Susan St. James on commentary. If you never watched WrestleMania 2, Susan St. James is a genuine reason to do so. Why the decision was ever made to put a TV star who clearly didn't care for wrestling as a commentator on a huge show is anyone's guess, but the decision backfired massively because James knew nothing. Treating it like a joke, Susan laughed at some of the moves and often blurted out classic lines such as, "Uh-oh." All this did was take away from anything we were seeing. It was obvious she didn't want to be there, and we didn't want her to be there. So what the hell was the point of any of this? The answer is, there was no point, but it's so bad, it is quite entertaining. Number 6, Hulk Hogan's promo. The opening to WrestleMania 30 was great. Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock standing in a ring together, sharing a moment that anyone with even a fleeting interest in pro wrestling could enjoy. Some of the Mount Rushmore of the industry right there in your face. Before this though, Hogan had a few minutes by himself in the squared circle, and while here, he said how happy he was to be in the Silver Dome even though they were in the Superdome. Now, in fairness to Hulk, he had fought there at WrestleMania 3 and did a very good job in covering his gaff up. Plus it allowed Austin to have a lot of fun with the mistake, so in reality, this should probably be seen as a great botch. Everyone came out a winner. Number 5, Triple H's painful entrance. A botch isn't always a wrestler's fault, and this was definitely the case when Triple H came storming to the ring at WrestleMania 29 for his match against Brock Lesnar. Mistakenly blasted with dry ice during his entrance, the game suffered second-degree burns to his torso but soldiered on regardless. You can see him try and wipe it off as he struts forward, and the fact he was even able to throw a punch after this is incredible. You didn't know Triple H was a tough son of a gun before, this was the icing on the cake. Or the stomach. I shouldn't have said that. Number 4, Randy Orton's landing. Much like the previous entry, you sometimes just can't control what happens to your body in the world of pro wrestling. It's like any sport. You can do your best, but sometimes things just happen. This was true at WrestleMania 30 where Randy Orton didn't land exactly like he would have wanted to. As Batista and Orton went to powerbomb RKO Daniel Bryan through a table, which was an awesome spot and looked the part too, the Viper landed on a TV monitor which smacked him right in the small of his back. You can see him react to it almost instantly, and how on earth this wasn't the end of his night is a mystery. But it wasn't, and he carried on regardless, and he did what needed to be done. Which and Randy Orton is one tough egg. Number 3, Papa Shango is late. Probably too busy doing voodoo or something, Papa Shango managed to completely ruin WrestleMania 8 when he was late to the ring. You'd think that doesn't sound too bad, but the point of his arrival was to break up the pinfall after Hulk Hogan had dropped his famous leg on Sid Justice. So when he didn't turn up, Sid just had to kick out. That is pretty bad right there. Things got worse because they then had to improv a bizarre DQ finish on the fly. The whole thing felt like a mess. That's because it was a mess. Thankfully, this was also the night the Ultimate Warrior returned, meaning everyone forgot about it all. Good grief, is it hard to watch. Number 2, Undertaker's suicide dive. Whose fault this actually was is up for debate. What's not is how scary and horrific it is to watch. During his legendary match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25, The Undertaker went to do his patented dive over the top rope and then wasn't caught by the cameraman at ringside, who was meant to catch him, and was Sim Snooker in disguise. The landing almost broke his neck, and yet somehow Taker was able to shake it off and carry on. Somewhat weirdly, it added to the drama as well. It looked so devastating you couldn't help buy into what you were seeing. It made everything feel more real. If Taker had gotten hurt, it'd been a different story. But he didn't, everything was okay, so there's nothing to worry about. Number 1, Brock Lesnar's shooting star press. Brock Lesnar is an athletic freak. Despite his size, he's insanely quick and his agility is unmatched. I often think he must have been built in a lab, or is actually just a robot. If that was true, help me sleep easier at night. At WrestleMania 19, though, in his world title match against Kurt Angle, Lesnar went to end things spectacularly by hitting a shooting star press from the top rope that would have ranked as one of the most incredible finishes in history. Fortunately, that's not how it went down. Instead, Brock slipped on the top rope and came crashing down on his head instead. It was a miracle he didn't hurt himself worse, and how he finished the match is perplexing. Lesnar shouldn't have been able to walk after this, but luckily he had a neck like a dinosaur, so he got away with it. Let's just hope we never see anything like this again. Know of any other WrestleMania botches? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can even come tell me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and I will chat to you again soon.